start a couple minutes in. Sorry, thank you for your patience, everyone. We had a whole discussion on John back there that just lasted too long.
You're out already?
Yeah.
I mean, he's been around
We
long.
abbreviated. We just cited page numbers. We got through all of them.
Yeah.
I think we're good, right?
Should go to LED.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for your patience. I take full responsibility for the delay. We were having a conversation in closed session, and I personally did not watch the clock or manage the clock, so that's on me. Thank you for your patience. I'm going to call to order the Monday, December 15th, 2025 Royal Oak City Commission meeting to order. We're going to begin with an invocation given by Mayor Pro Tem Dr. Herzog, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. I ask that you stand if you can, please.
This is a special time of year where we come together to celebrate the joys of the season. We are sending emails with, "Let's circle back in the new year," or concluding meetings with, "This feels like a 2026 problem." There may be a little chaos in creating all the holiday magic too. It is also an opportunity to pause and reflect on the past year, considering who we have been and what we want to bring forward in the coming year. Our contribution to the world is our light. Each individual possesses a unique light that can dispel darkness. By nurturing each other's light, we transform small sparks into powerful flame capable of illuminating the challenges the world faces. Every one of us is important. Hope is essential, belief in the future is crucial, and understanding that our actions can create a significant impact is vital. We must rise, seek joy, and be the reason others believe in the inherent goodness of humanity each day. Royal Oak has much to celebrate this year. Despite the obstacles we encounter, failure, loss, sadness, and disappointment, we did not succumb to despair. It is the collective effort of each individual that elevates Royal Oak from a mere city to a vibrant community. Let us celebrate our achievements, learn from our missteps, and find joy in one another as we move into the new year. Wishing you a holiday season filled with joy and looking forward to continued success in 2026. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, that brings us to item 4, which is the approval of the agenda. Does anyone wish to make a motion for an agenda this evening? A motion by Commissioner Colo. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Cheatham. Discussion on tonight's agenda. All right, with none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion passes. We have an agenda. Up next is the WROK 22 update presented by Veterans Events Committee Chair, the one and only David Wandoff.
Hold applause. Good evening once again, Dave Wandoff, Veterans Event Committee Chair. So with the WROK March, there's 3 big things that come away with it. I think everyone knows about the money and everyone knows about the food, but the biggest thing is it's an awareness campaign as well, right? To make sure that people understand that disproportionately that veterans do suffer more from death by suicide than other groups of people. But all we can do is try our best, but tangibly, this year we did raise $1,800 for the VA, and a lot of that money goes to our crisis line for veterans. So there's call-in lines, so there's always somebody there to man that and help take care of them and help them find the help that they need. Also this year, we raised about $400 or $500 for the VVA 154 that feeds about 50 to 60 veteran families. They're located out in Macomb. So they received about $400 or $500 gift cards, and this year they had an astounding amount of food, and once again that comes from the community at large and friends and families and our service organizations, the American Legion and Royal Oak here, the VVA, the VFW Post 1669, all very helpful with all of these events that we do, and we appreciate them all very much. And once again, I don't know if this gets said enough, but without the support of not only the people of Royal Oak, but the commission, the mayor, all of you, it would be a lot harder to do what we do. So we do very much appreciate everything that you help us with, you facilitate us with, I guess is probably the best way of saying it. And especially the two people from Royal Oak that work for Royal Oak, Judy Davids and our ex officio Ryan Spangler, sergeant type. Without them, a lot of this would be much, much harder. So once again, thank you very much for making this a little bit easier than it could have been, and thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wandoff, and thank you to the Veterans Event Committee and everybody that participated at the ROK 22. It's one of these things that we started how many years ago, Ms. Davids? Feels like eighth year, and we've built on it year after year after year because of volunteers like you, Mr. Wandoff, and so many others. And like you said, the most important thing is awareness, destigmatizing mental health. And it's a bittersweet thing because you have more people coming out there and more connections being made and more people, you know, some laughter, some jeer, but very serious at the same time, talking about this national tragedy. And it's taking all of us, and we're so grateful for your personal passion and for the Veteran Events Committee's passion, and for the VFW and American Legion and everybody who comes out to make it happen. Thank you from the bottom of the City of Royal Oak's heart.
Thank you all as well. Thank you.
Okay, this brings us to the 5th Street project update from Downtown Development Authority, Executive Director Isaac Kramer. Welcome, sir.
Good evening, Your Honor and Commissioners. I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to address you tonight. What I'm about to share with you, I think, really exemplifies the collaborative spirit of the many staff members and the community that have come together, not just over months, but years for this project to get to the point that we're at now. So as of tomorrow morning, we are releasing the RFP for 5th Street, and it'll be open between now and January 13th, 2026 when it closes. We're projecting to have 2 phases, and people will be able to apply for one phase, both of the phases, however they choose to do it. The first phase being Center Street to the west side of Washington, the second phase being the west side of Washington to Lafayette. And our reasoning for breaking it up into phases is it's a very complex project. This is going to make it a little bit more manageable on our end, and it's going to lessen the impact also. So we're thinking in terms of phase 1. So after we close the bids on January 13th, looking to award in February, and then the first phase being from March 16th to August 15th with a very hard stop so that we can accommodate the influx of people for Arts, Beats, and Eats. But assuming things stay on track, the second phase beginning September 14th and culminating June 18th in 2027. Our project engineer has estimated the total project costs as designed are $3.377 million. The City of Royal Oak's already committed $325,000 for water main replacement, and I'm pleased to report as of last week, some of the testing has been done with leads to make sure that everything below ground's in good order and where it's not, so that we can do that preventative maintenance, because we realize we only have one chance to open this up and then to close it again. So with that, in discussion over the last several months, when I've talked with design professionals or volunteers or board members, several issues came up. I won't go in depth, but these are addressed in some memos that I've circulated with the Infrastructure Committee and also with the DDA board. But to give you the top level, some of the issues were the unhoused population and how they might interact with the new project, so we thoroughly looked into that. Activation of the space. So while we don't have a stage or programming as part of this really infrastructure construction work that we're talking about right now, we do have a parallel team that's being formed to discuss stage and programming. Drainage, addressing those concerns. The curbless versus curbs. Of course, with the curbless, we have greater accessibility, no more than a 2% grade, so we're complying with the ADA. Street trees came up in the specifications, also the acknowledgement the existing street trees are outside of their useful life. The sidewalk table, questions were raised and discussion was had regarding that on Washington Ave and how important it is to have that straight shot from one side of Fifth Street to the other from an accessibility perspective and also just making it welcoming for pedestrians. In the last two issues dealing with infrastructure, I already mentioned how we've looked at the sewer leads, and I want to thank Holly and her team for being proactive and getting that work done in a timely manner. And also the turf versus grass. And while the turf option was presented utilizing a turf made of soybean products that was fully recyclable, we came down on grass, for nothing else than the fact that, it's a comfortable place on a lawn for people to get together, and that's what we committed to, and that's what's in the scope. So I did mention a few minutes ago, Holly Donahue, and what a great colleague she's been. We met November 4th to begin pulling this proposal together along with Rick Scott of FV Engineering. And we've now gotten it to the point, I'm actually really pleased to report, 6 days early for our deadline, the RFP was ready to go out. So we've kind of been waiting for tomorrow, as it were, and we're really excited when that goes live on the website tomorrow. And by the way, I should also mention the finance department that was really helpful as we were preparing to get that out. And last but not least, I'd like to recognize several commissioners, Commissioner Colo, Commissioner Herzog, and former Commissioner Douglas, all who have provided input in one form or another on the project. Commissioner Colo, who was kind enough to come to our infrastructure committee meeting. And I do want to note, Commissioner Douglas had some very specific comments to us about the proper height of seating. And we have vetted that, put it in the memo, included it in the sources. And if she's listening, I'll share with Commissioner Douglas, we will get that piece right. And thank you for the feedback. So with that, to complete where I started, we've reached the end of the planning. We're about to begin implementation. It's been a team effort that's gotten us to this point. It's very exciting. But I want to leave you with this thought. There's this concept, if you want to go short distances, you can go alone. But if you want to go far, you go together. And what I see is the whole team here at Royal Oak pulling together to get this transformative infrastructure project done. And everything seems to be pointing to 2026 being the year to make it happen.
Excellent. Mr. Kremer, would you entertain a few questions?
I'd be happy to.
Okay, wonderful. Looking down this side, Commissioner Colo, did I see your?
Yeah, I'm not sure I have a question as much as a comment here. I think it's important, a little bit about backstory. And this has been a project we've been talking about for, I believe, 3 years now. This has been on the table. It's been simmering, and then it came to the City Commission 2 years ago, kind of incomplete. It was a thought that just wasn't baked up yet. And then Commissioner, or Mayor Pro Tem now, Herzog, former Commissioner Douglas, who I guarantee is not listening right now, but that's a wonderful thought.
Good for her.
She's retired and enjoying her night alone. Commissioner Douglas and I were voluntold. We were on the committee to help talk to the DDA and go through this process. And that's when we started talking about some transformational changes. The point of this project is to really open up and activate Fifth Street and make a plaza out of this. It's to connect our downtown. I mean, this is really transformational for the city. It's going to be a way that's going to invite people to lounge and enjoy Royal Oak in a different way than they might not use right now. I truly think that this will be an award-winning project. And it's going to really connect the city in different ways. And that took a lot of thought. So, thank you to the infrastructure committee who went along, and we all had great back and forth and discussions. Commissioner Herzog led the way on that grass. That not having artificial turf, she could talk about this because I don't have a doctorate in her field of expertise, but we talked about the water runoff and the microplastics that turf would put into the water there. So having grass is just another feature. Commissioner Douglas talked a lot about seating and where people will be comfortable. We talked about the trees, we talked about the connectivity. So there's a lot that went into this, and the City Commission approved the design back in January of this year. So we saw the fly-throughs and the walkthroughs. So I'm happy that 12 months later, we're finally at the point where we're paying the RFPs out to see this finally be built. And I'm excited for the 18, we'll take 18 months to build, but it's 18 months that's well spent.
Commissioner Cheatham.
You mentioned that you would have the RFP go in 2 phases. So from, was it from Center to Washington, then Washington to Lafayette? So how will you ensure that there'll be continuity between those 2 sections? Like what kind of processes will you put in place to make sure that it's pretty smooth when it's all put in place?
I think that's an excellent question. I'm not going to make up an answer to that, but that's something we'd rely on with the design professionals. But it was a very deliberate decision in November when we had that scoping meeting with city engineer and also the designer. But I'd actually point you to the construction drawings, which are going to be in the bid packet that goes live tomorrow. And I'd also commit to a follow-up so that we can give a serious answer to that question.
All right, I'll just say thank you very much. Thank you to the commissioners that participated. Thank you to the DDA. I mean, one of the missions here in Royal Oak is quality of life. And we saw with Centennial Commons just an absolute amazing transformation for that part of downtown. This is a beautiful project. If you've had a chance to look at the presentation and drawings, it's beautiful. It's of high quality. It's going to look really nice. But more importantly, it's going to create another place for people to connect, congregate, unite, and hang out and do something different than sitting on the couch and scrolling through Facebook. So this is what our aim is in terms of public health a little bit, and our aim in terms of quality of life. Projects like this will make a huge impact in our community's well-being. So thank you. And thank you for picking it up, Mr. Kremer, running with it and getting it over the finish line.
Well, day one, September 15th, they told me this is important. This is my quarter-year anniversary tonight. So, it took that time, but it was time well spent. But more importantly, look forward to moving ahead. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. All right. Public comment. Before we start public comment, just a few guidelines. The City Commission values and relies on the input of our fellow citizens to help make decisions. Now is the time set aside for you to address the City Commission on any city-related issue, whether or not it's on the agenda. I do ask that comments be made to the City Commission as a whole and not to individual commissioners. The city has made it easier for you to request a follow-up should you have a question at public comment by simply scanning the QR code that you can see placed right in front of our amazing police chief there. You can make sure to double check that your information is accurate. Unless the question is simply rhetorical and you're not looking for an answer, then I guess you don't have to leave your contact information. But to the extent that you really are looking for an answer, we really want to get you that answer. If you wish to speak tonight at public comment, please wait until recognized by me, the mayor. You'll come up to the podium, state your name and address for the record. Please know that and be mindful that the City Commission wishes to hear from anyone who wants to speak tonight, so comments are limited to 3 minutes per speaker, not per topic. And we do have a convenient timer there to help you keep track of your time so you don't forget to make that solid point at the end of your public comment. Please note, we typically don't respond to questions during public comment, but we are taking notes, and when your agenda topic comes up, we will ask that question on your behalf. If your questions aren't related to anything on tonight's agenda, staff are taking notes, and if you fill out the QR, or not fill out the QR, but scan the QR code and fill out your information, we can get an answer to it, or always feel free to talk to our outstanding communication engagement professional, Judy Davids. She knows a lot of answers, but to the 1% of the time that she doesn't know the answer, she'll get back to you as soon as possible if you leave a good contact information. So with that, who's first tonight? Mr. Mayton.
Good evening. My name is John Mayton, 2902 Elmhurst. I'm really here for the Audit Review Committee Chairman, but while I'm here, I might as well talk about the memorial. So I'm president of Michigan World War II Memorial. On November 11th, we dedicated our Phase 2 I want to thank Judy Davis for all her help in helping set up that event. And I think I've heard that our Facebook post, or the city Facebook post from when we named Francis Masters as kind of the face of the Rosie, and then the subsequent post when we actually unveiled the statue, were the two highest rated or highest hit rates in the Royal Oak site history. If not, it's a good story if it's not true or not. But I think when we look at the crowd that was there, we had, I think, somewhere around 450, 500 people came to that ceremony. And what really struck me is how that park, that end of the park isn't used a lot for a lot of different events. I mean, there's a couple things that go on there, but how that is a gathering space, and that's the intent of the memorial, is to have that as a public gathering space, not just a memorial, but for any other types of events. And I mentioned during my remarks at the dedication that we were sitting at the edge of the sidewalk looking at what's built to the memorial so far, but that's really the center of what's to be the entire memorial. And I'd like to work with the city, some other contractors, anybody else we can to help transform that area to really an event space. We could see the type of people it brings to the city. It's really a destination place for people to come. And the more and more things we have there, the more and more people will come. There is still another piece of Rosie statue coming, by the way. The skin that goes, that she's riveting on is actually being done at a foundry in Roseville as we speak. So that'll go in the spring when we have a chance for that. But we continue to raise money to work on that, and we look forward to continuing to work with the city to expand the memorial. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Great work.
Thanks.
All right. Who else wishes to speak at public comment tonight? Going once. Going twice. Okay, we're going to close public comment, bring the meeting back to this side of the table. That brings us to number 8, the consent agenda. Does anyone wish to pull anything off tonight's consent agenda? Does anyone wish to make a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda? Commissioner Cheatham, motion to approve. Second by Commissioner Herzog. I should say, I don't know, there's this whole legality whether I say Mayor Pro Tem Herzog. I've had that discussion. But, okay. So we have a motion on the table, discussion on the consent agenda. All right, with none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion passes. All right, that brings us to number 9, which is the acceptance of the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2025 financial audit and comprehensive financial report. Ms. Coy.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Thank you all for being here. So I'm here tonight and very pleased to present to you the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2025 audit and ACFR. Tonight we also have here John Mayton. He's the chair of our audit review committee. And then we have Dan Merritt. He is the principal auditor for Raymond Robson. So just a brief background on the item. The audit review committee met on November 25th to discuss the city's financial audit and ACFR. Now we're presenting the accompanying documents to you and to the residents. So the attachments that we've included are the independent auditor's communication letter. Next we have the annual comprehensive financial report. So this is also known as the ACFR, and this is the largest document, and this encompasses the breadth of the financial statements. So we also have the single audit report, and that lists all of our federal grant activity. So Dan Merritt presented the results that night, and I am pleased to report that once again, the city received an unmodified opinion. This is also known as a clean opinion. Dan can tell you a little bit more when he talks about the conversation, but I would also like to point out that for the 17th consecutive year in the row, we did receive the ACFR award from the Government Finance Officers Association, and it is for excellence in financial reporting. So we are expecting to submit this year's report as well, and hopefully receive that for the 18th year in a row. And then before I turn it over, I would like to take a moment to thank everyone, first of all, on the finance team. Tony DeCamp, he's our assistant director. He's here with us tonight. Also, Rebecca Chase, our senior accountant. I also want to thank Jane Marie Hubanks. She's our city treasurer, and the city treasurer team. But really everyone in the finance team in both offices played a supporting role throughout the process. So I just want to thank them for all of their hard work. And then before I turn it over, does anyone have any questions?
Any questions for Ms. Coy? Okay.
Okay,
All right,
thanks.
thank you. Mr. Merritt.
Wonderful. Hopefully my presentation will be up in just a second here. Awesome. Okay. I can go forward, maybe? Yes, no? Yes, I can. Great, I'm in control. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of City Council, City Administration. As previously stated, my name is Dan Merritt. I'm here to present the results of the City of Royal Oaks June 30th, 2025 financial statement audit. This is my first year as the signing engagement principal in charge of your audit. As the city has partnered with Raymond as its independent auditor for a number of years, and as part of that partnership, the city from time to time requests a rotation of engagement principals in order to ensure that financial statement information is being carefully reviewed and that there is a fresh set of eyes, a fresh set of review that is happening on a regular and ongoing basis. So this year I've rotated on to replace Nate Balderman, who served with the city for a number of years. I expect to continue for the next several years. Myself and my team do about 25 different local government audits in Southeast Michigan. Our firm as a whole does about 125 local government audits across the state of Michigan. So this is basically what we do all of the time. Tracy Kendall is our senior manager in charge. She assists the city with ACFR preparation and also assists a number of other cities, including City of Ann Arbor, Rochester Hills, Oakland County, Wayne County, Washtenaw County, a lot of the big ones. Brendan Burns is our senior associate in charge, works very closely with Tony and Rebecca, and is also a resident of the City of Royal Oak. Oop, there we go. As Kim mentioned, every single year, local governments in Michigan require to have an annual financial statement audit. So this is normal and routine for any city in Michigan since Public Act 2 of 1968. And Raymond has been doing public sector audits since 1968. Basically, if you're a population rule 4,000 or more, you have to have an annual audit. Those that are much smaller can have an every other year audit, but the City of Royal Oak has one each and every single year. So as Kim mentioned, there are 3 documents in front of you. I'm going to try to give you the 1,000-foot summary of each of those documents. There's the 188-page document. That's the ACFR. I'll talk about that first. Then there's a letter in the front of that ACFR that is the auditor's letter to management. We'll talk about that second. And finally, we'll talk about the single audit report over federal awards. So first, also mentioned by Kim, we did give a clean, unmodified opinion on the June 30th, 2025 financial statements. If I say nothing else this evening, that is the most important thing that I can communicate to you. That's what the state of Michigan requires for you to have issued by 6 months after fiscal year end. So I'm standing here today. It's before December 31st. That means you had a clean opinion in plenty of time, in fact, earlier than most other cities submit. Second, if a clean, unmodified opinion is the highest level of assurance you can get, perhaps a clean and unmodified opinion that has no findings attached to it is the city manager at Sterling Heights likes when I call it an A+ audit, so we'll call it an A+ audit. So the City of Royal Oak had a clean audit with no findings for fiscal year 2025, which is a great result. I mentioned also that there's an audit letter, and that audit letter required to communicate a few important things to you. First is if our assessment of accounting estimates made by management, were they all deemed reasonable? And yes, we assessed all accounting estimates made by management, deemed them reasonable. Financial statements require you to make a certain amount of judgments. There is a certain amount of gray area, as much as we'd like accounting to be black and white. Estimates related to pension and OPEB defined benefit plans, estimates related to the useful lives of capital assets, compensated absences. The city is required to spend a great deal of time making sure that those estimates are all thoroughly vetted, and then we audit those estimates, and we deemed all of them reasonable for this year. Second, if your auditor ever tells you, whether it's on this board or another board that you're sitting on, that they had difficulties dealing with management, immediately ask many, many questions. We have, in our time working with the city, never reported issues dealing with management. And this is also perhaps a good time for me to mention the hard and good work of city finance in completing the audit. Kim mentioned that Tony and Rebecca and Jane Marie are all instrumental in completing the audit. We generally estimate that a medium-sized city audit takes about 500 hours to do on our end. I usually think that if it takes us that much time, it probably takes city finance 2 to 3 times that amount of time to prepare for and execute the audit. So we really appreciate all of the hard work, preparation, time, and dedication it takes on the city's end to complete the annual audit process. Finally, we noted one comment for improvement, which was discussed in detail at the audit subcommittee related to the State Construction Code Act. The city reports a special revenue fund for the State Construction Code Act as it carries a surplus balance and has for a number of years. Last report that I have to talk about tonight is the single audit report. Since 1984, every organization, local government that reports under GASB standards that receives more than $750,000, that's going up to $1 million next year in federal funding, is required to have a single audit report. Before that time, you could be audited by the Department of Education and Department of Housing and Urban Development, and every department could audit you separately. Now you get one audit for all of those federal awards each year. The city had about $1.5 million in federal funding, which is down from previous years because previously the ARPA funding was received by the city and that's all been spent out. I'll talk about that in just a second. My second and third bullet points talk about when we were able to issue single audits. The single audit for the city has been issued. When this presentation was drafted, we were not allowed to release single audit reports because the federal government provides the rules for issuing single audits, and they're supposed to do that in May, and they didn't do it in May or June or July or August or September, and then they took a 2-month break. Came back, issued the rules on November 25th, and so now we have issued the single audit for the city of Royal Oak and had no findings over federal awards, which again is a good and clean result for this fiscal year. The major program that was selected, which comprises appreciably almost all of the federal funding that the city received this year, was CDBG or Community Development Block Grants. No issues were found in our auditing of that grant. Finally, just to try to sum up in a nice, clean way, the city has a very experienced team of finance professionals. It is hard in Michigan to find experienced local government finance professionals, and the city has several of them, which again lets you complete your audit, have clean audits, and do it in a timely fashion. Second, the city made efforts in the last couple of years to expend its ARPA funding and completed that in 2024. That is a very positive thing from a compliance perspective. I still have a number of clients that are trying to finish spending their ARPA money. The rules got more stringent after December 31st and made it harder to properly expend your money under the rules. So it's a very good thing that the city finished expending that in a timely fashion. And finally, the city continues to be in a very good and strong financial position in almost all of its funds related to budgeting carefully, having a structural surplus, provides for flexibility and stability for future projects, for future capital projects and capital improvements. And I believe that brings me to the end of my prepared comments. I will point out that in the presentation, if you get through it tonight, later as you're trying to get ready for bed, maybe you need something to fall asleep, there are appendices to this presentation that were presented in detail at the audit subcommittee. More than happy to take any questions that anyone might have on that now or afterwards if you send us questions at that point. So with that, that's the end of my prepared remarks, but I'm more than happy to take any questions you might have.
Questions, Mr. Mayor? Commissioner Colo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I just want to confirm that the city is being good financial stewards of the tax dollars we receive.
In my estimation, yes. But
Okay.
that's a personal opinion. My job is to present an opinion on the financial statements, not to opine on how the city spends its money, but yes.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? I mean, I don't think there's a lot of questions when it comes back clean. It's when it doesn't, there's a lot of questions.
That's correct. The meetings get a lot longer then, yes.
Yeah, they do. Well, good. Well, thank you, Mr. Merritt. Really appreciate the effort you and your team put into it, as well as our finance department. We can acknowledge that it does take a lot. And the audit committee as well. I know Mr. Mayton's here. I don't know if you wanted to add anything to the presentation here tonight. But by the way, Mr. Mayton, I think we figured out you've been serving 25 years as chair.
25 years. I'm chair probably like 18, but.
18, okay. Yeah, I was off a little bit.
Yeah. Well, Dan mentioned you've rotated through, so this is the third auditor I've rotated through, so we keep training them, but yeah, it's, again, as he said, the last several years, we've had the city, the county's getting the accounting award, which makes us all so much easier. I think when I started, these meetings were several hours long. I think with computers, it's gotten a lot easier, but also the preparation done by the accounting department helps a lot. So as we go through these meetings, it's easy for us to follow through as citizens what's being done by the auditors, the way the accounts are set up and things like that. So we appreciate that. We thank the accounting department for their hard work and Reman for theirs. We just do want to stress that one comment, it's not a finding, the comment about the state construction fund surplus. It's been several years now and it keeps going up. And I know Commissioner Cantina was with us, and so you guys know the specifics of that, but we really need to look at doing that so it's not something we talk about every year. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Maiden. All right.
Thank you very much.
There we go. Thank you. So, hold on here. Yeah, we have a resolution in here. My HTML one was not up. Okay. Just pulling it up. Okay, we have a proposed resolution contained in the memo for the acceptance of the audit. Does anyone wish to make a motion? Commissioner Chisholm?
Yeah, I move that we accept the comprehensive financial report, independent auditors' communication with those charged with governance, and the Single Audit Act compliance report for the last fiscal year.
Just off the cuff.
I just made that up.
Second by Commissioner Gantina. All right, any discussion? I would say it was great to have a new commissioner there, probably the longest serving commissioner with the newest serving commissioner, one of the two. Okay, who's sworn in first? Okay, so second, but it was great having us both be there in the audit review committee, and along with a great group of citizens that ask a lot of provocative questions, and of course, our professionals from the accounting and finance team, and of course from Reman as well. We always joke audit is boring and everyone's going to sleep, but when you got a great group of people together, nothing's boring. So, and I'm also, full disclosure, I have a finance background, so maybe my opinion is biased. All right, with that, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes. All right, it's been accepted. Thank you. That brings us to item 10, which is a license agreement for food cooler and public alley at 27302 Woodward Avenue. I see our world-renowned city engineer, Ms. Holly Donahue, is here.
Yes, good evening, Mayor and City Commissioners. The business owner at 27302 Woodward, which is the Owl Restaurant, is asking to place a food cooler behind the business, and that would encroach into the city's 14-foot wide public alley. So their encroachment that they're asking for is shown up on the screen here, kind of outlined in green. So it would extend 4 feet laterally into the alley, and the overall length of this cooler would be 24 feet long. That still would give the 10-foot required space between the cooler and the overhead DTE lines that are required by the DTE easement. And if a vehicle needed to get in there to park for whatever reason, there still is room to do that as well. This is a dead-end alley. It only provides access to this restaurant property. The adjacent business, which is the Royal Tropical Fish and Bird Store, they do not have a parking lot or dumpster access from this alley. The applicant has confirmed that the food cooler is removable. It's not a permanent addition to the building, and that he would comply with the permit requirements of the building division. Police, fire, and DPS do not have any objections to this request, and neither does engineering. And we did notify both of these two adjacent properties of the meeting tonight. And the requester, Joe Bongiovanni is here if you have any questions for him directly.
Okay. Any questions for the city engineer first? Petitioner want to say anything? You're not obligated to.
Hi. Thanks for having me out today. Thanks for Holly's help in presenting this. This would help the restaurant out a lot. It would provide, ever since COVID and such, we still struggle with storage opportunities for our business. The amount of delivery frequencies have slowed down a little bit, and so having some more storage, especially refrigerated storage, would really help a very successful restaurant. we love being in Royal Oak. We love our position in the place. I think the last time it was in front of the commission was for our sign approval many years ago. It's been about 12 years now, and so we think Owl's a really good steward of Royal Oak's scene, and hope to do it for a lot longer. So thanks.
Great.
This would help us out a lot.
Commissioner Cole?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So is this a, looking at the plans, is this a walk-in cooler that you're
It
going to
is.
add? It's going to be, you can access it through your building then?
That's correct.
Okay, so it's going to be completely sealed. This isn't an issue for everyone in the neighborhood at all, right? Like this
That's
is
correct.
just, it's a walk-in cooler that's modular and can be taken away any given time if you needed to.
A box that's basically butted up against the building, and it'll have a doorway into it from our side,
Great.
from inside.
Thank you.
Commissioner Gantina?
You asked the original question I was going to ask, but just to confirm, this doesn't change your delivery schedule at all, doesn't add to your deliveries, this is just providing you more additional cold storage?
It should probably help the less frequency a little bit. It's been our biggest challenge. The restaurant right now gets daily deliveries sometimes from our company, and so we try to tighten that up a little bit.
Great. Thank you.
Anybody else? No? Okay, sounds good, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. We have a resolution for approval in the attachment. Anyone want to discuss it, make a motion? I see Commissioner Gantina down there with the fast hands.
I was going to move to approve the resolution.
Motion
as
by
written.
Commissioner Gantina, is there a second? Second by Commissioner Herzog. All right, any discussion? That's just a cough block? Okay, all right, I just wasn't sure if, you had your hand up. I mean, it seems really cool. I think it's gonna be really cool. I'm sorry. Any other comments?
There's a little frosty, Mike.
My dad joke, a hoot or not? All right. Owl's a good place. I'm glad to see, there's no real challenges that we have to overcome. Seems pretty simple. We want to help businesses. We want to help small businesses any opportunity that we can. Sometimes it's easy. Sometimes there's always other considerations we have to balance. This one looks pretty straightforward. So, all right. Any other discussion? All right, with that, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes. All right. I think that brings us to the end of tonight's agenda, notwithstanding anything for the betterment of the people and city we love. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Commissioner Bastian.
Motion to adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn by Commissioner Bastian. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Gantina. All right. The emotion from that motion was so high. We might have to take a pause here for a second. All right. Anything to discuss on that motion? All right. With none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes. We're adjourned.
Those need to be so much more